Pleased to meet you again in our 11th lecture. Okay, this lecture will continue with what we started with in the previous one, having a new example or new sample of from the fiction genre of the American literature. But this time we'll have a different type of fiction work, or a longer type of fiction work from the fiction genre. And this time, today's lecture and today's assignment will be sort of a novel, okay, because it's a novel that doesn't fit exactly in the genre of a novel because of its length and because of its style and the different characteristics of this novel. But it's a novel, so it's a long novel that is written by Mark Twain, one of the most famous figures or literary figures in the United States. Okay, the novel is called The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn. The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn. The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn, written by Mark Twain. Mark Twain is also a figure, a prominent, famous figure, American literary figure that you need to remember and you need to read about and remember for the final exam. Okay. And there is one of the questions in the topics for discussion is about Mark Twain, asking you to write a biography, short biography about Mark Twain. Okay, so please don't forget that. The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn is one of the most famous novels in the American literature. Okay. It has, a great value as a literary work, okay, because it talks about, a period a period of time when the States was experiencing, under, the slavery institution. Okay, this work of literature, The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn, is sort of a revolution against the institution of slavery, because it has the two major characters, Huckleberry Finn, called as Huck, from one side as representing a white person, and then Jim, as another major figure or character in the novel, representing the slavery, or representing slavery, or the slavery institution, or representing the black people in the United States living as slaves at that time of the at that time of the history of the United States. So The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn, as you see, is named after the major character Huckleberry Finn, and abbreviated as Huck, will be referred to as Huck Finn. Okay, Huckleberry Finn is was published in between 1876 and 1883. So it's a type as a novel, as a work, a literary work. It's of course a novel, but as it is said here, it doesn't exactly fit in one single genre. Okay, it fits in more than different types of novels, as as a picaresque or buildings roman. Okay. So it's more than one thing in this novel. As we said before in the previous lecture, when we read a novel and when we read poetry, but here we talk about fiction, you have to remember the literary terms and definitions of these terms. Okay, in the previous lecture, terms like theme, character, setting, and point of view. Okay. figures of speech, if they are used, in any work, either in fiction or poetry. And then when we come to drama, so of course characters, these are all major elements of making a novel or a story. So you have to remember them, and make sure that you know their definitions. طبعا this story has this novel, let's say, has 43 chapters. So but we are not going to I'm not going to ask you to read the whole work, because I think that could be too much for you, at least in one semester, with other courses and with the other materials that you are required to study for this semester, for this course. So I'll assign only 3 chapters of this novel. So all what you need to read, first of all, you have to know a general, you have to have a general idea about the whole story, a summary of the whole story in general, okay, from the beginning to the end, just a general summary for the whole story. But for the course, you will be assigned to read chapter 1, 2, so just to know, to be introduced to the major characters and the setting of the story, and the style of the work, and how the story, who is who, and where, what is what, and where they are, where the actions are taking place, just to introduce you to the novel and to the characters and to the setting in the first 2 chapters. Then we just jump to the end of the novel, to chapter 43. So you have to read, okay, and you have to read these 3 chapters, chapter 1, 2, and 43. These chapters, of course, will be included in the final exam. So read them carefully. Don't just read the summaries of these chapters. That will not be enough. I'm here providing you with the summaries of these 3 chapters, but that is not enough. You have to read the chapters, because you might be asked about specific details in these 3 chapters, about what is happening, where is this happening, who is who, and what is what's happening in this chapter, who is saying this, if it is something important in the novel. So the 3 chapters will be provided for you. So you please start from now, working on these 3 chapters, by reading them, okay, and then you come to the summaries and to the analysis of these 3 chapters in particular. Okay, so we'll be concerned about the characters, the setting, the figures of speech, and all of these literary terms, okay, within these 3 chapters. And generally speaking, this novel is going to be one of the greatest, okay, one of the greatest American novels, and it is one of the first, okay, this is very important, it's one of the first novels written in dialect, in regional dialect, or regional American dialect, okay, and so something you have to remember here while reading the chapters of the novel. If you are interested, if you have time, you please read the whole novel, okay, that will be much better. But for the course and for the final exam, you'll only concentrate and just read the 3 chapters, 1, 2, and 43. You'll find a lot of grammar errors, and using very colloquial slang, informal words, phrases, okay, statements. So that is just as part of the style that Mark Twain uses in his novel, reflecting the regional dialect of the people in the United States, particularly in the states of Missouri, okay, on the banks of the two banks of the river of Missouri in the state of Missouri. Okay, so the story here we come to as a setting. So as you see here, it takes place. The actions take place. In St. Pittsburgh, Missouri, and at various locations along the banks of the Missouri River. Oh, sorry, Mississippi River. I'm sorry, and river in Missouri. Sorry, a river in Missouri, Mississippi banks, a river in Missouri. Okay, so just to correct myself here, it's the actions take place on the banks of the Mississippi in Missouri. اللي هو في Arkansas and Illinois. Okay, these are the places where the actions take place on the banks of the river of Missouri. Mississippi in Missouri, بعدين في Arkansas, بعدين في Illinois. Okay, the time of the actions, okay, because setting is time and place mainly, and then of course other things, اللي هو mid of 19th century, before the Civil War. The main characters, we have the protagonist and the antagonist. The protagonist is what? اللي هو الهاكلبري فين, the major character, the protagonist, the hero. But he is, as we said before, any story should have a conflict. يعني should have a struggle between two forces, between an antagonist and a protagonist. So here we have the antagonist, the hero, is Huckleberry Finn, and he is fighting a protagonist and what is called the anti-hero. So who is the anti-hero here, or the antagonist? Remember here, it's not another man or woman or a group of people. Okay, no, it's the society and its rules and laws. Okay, because as I have just said, here the society, the novel represents sort of a revolution against, social laws, traditions, and racism. Okay, let's say a sort of a war against slavery and slavery institution. So protagonist Huckleberry Finn, the antagonist is the social or society and its rules and laws. Major characters اللي هم الانtagonist Huckleberry Finn as a person, loyal, cheerful, and he's of course naive. He's uneducated person, so that's why he and the other many other characters, like Jim, let's say, they are uneducated people, so they make a lot of errors in grammar, and they use slangs, they use colloquial language. So and Huckleberry Finn is also the narrator. Okay, he is the narrator of the novel. He uses the I point of view. So we have a participant point of view, I. Okay, so Huckleberry Finn here is telling his own story with some other people who join him. Then we have the second character is Jim, who escaped slavery, who escaped slavery and joins Huck, and he's a loyal, simple person. Again, he is uneducated. Okay. Pap Finn, who was the father of Huckleberry Finn. Then we have Widow Douglas, a kindly but straight, kind woman, but she's straight-laced woman, and a strict woman. Okay, strong, strict woman. Okay, who takes Huck into her home. She wants to change Huckleberry Finn, or Huck Finn, and try to teach him moral lessons of how to be a good mannered person. Okay, and then we have Miss Watson, who is widow's sister, Douglas, then we have Tom Sawyer. هذا is another major figure اللي هو Huck's friend. Okay, he likes to stage mock adventures of the kind he reads about in books. So he joins also Huck and Jem, and he also he escapes and he loves to have adventures with Huck. Then we have Joe Harper, Ben Roger, Tom. These are what Tom Sawyer's gang, members of Tom Sawyer's gang. They decide to have sort of a gang to rob, or steal from certain type of people. Okay. Then we have Judge Thatcher. Okay. Next page we have also اللي هو Reverend اللي هو البريست Mr. Hobson والattorney Levi Bell وdeacon Lot Hovey. Okay, these are friends of Wilkes' sister. Okay, then we have a slave servant of Wilkes. We have Sally Phillips, Phillips اللي هي Tom Sawyer's aunt. Then we have Silas Phelps. Then we have all doctor, all physician. Okay, the story, as we have just said, is told from the I point of view. I point of view يعني using the first person narrator اللي بنسميه ايش؟ participant narrator. ايش يعني participant narrator؟ يعني الناريتر يكون هو الراوي، هو part of the actions. الراوي يكون جزء من الأحداث، يعني إيش؟ منخرط في الأحداث، يعني شخصية من شخصيات القصة أو الرواية. So here we have Huckleberry Finn, أو Huck is a character and a narrator at the same time. So because the point of view is a first person point of view, يعني is narrated by Huck using I point of view. Okay. Of course, when say he uses I, and he uses I when he talks about himself, or he talks about himself and his friends, or his friend Jim, we, I, we. Okay. And remember that his narration includes grammatical errors, and contains regional colloquial dialect. Okay, and also even not only grammatical errors, there are also pronunciation errors. And even in pronunciation, because these people, I mean, Huck and his friends, let's say particularly Jim, okay, they are uneducated people. Okay, so so you read in the novel, statements, phrases said by or narrated by Huck with a lot of grammatical errors and pronunciation errors. And okay, next page here, and to the end of the contents of the lecture today, here you have a summary of the three sections, three chapters, one by one. Summary of chapter 1, then 2, and then 43. Okay, I'll just leave them for you to read. But here remember that the whole story is told in chapters and in episodes, يعني in sort of adventures. Each episode talks about an adventure that happens, or that Huck and Jim and his and Tom Sawyer experience. Okay, and what happens to them while traveling, while moving, or while escaping from one place to another. So even the story starts with with a setting that is imaginative. created by the writer. Okay, that is called, St. Petersburg. Okay, in Missouri, on the banks of the Mississippi River in Missouri. Okay, so the two children, these two young people, Huckleberry Finn and Tom Sawyer, okay, they get some money from their adventures, and then they want, they get, they tell us about, the money they get from their adventures. Of the adventures of Jim and of Huckleberry Finn and Tom Sawyer. The two children here, the two young boys, they are under the custody of Mrs. Douglas, and this lady was trying hard to change, to educate, to teach, with her sister, of course, to teach, Huckleberry, Huckleberry, good manners, how to be polite, how to be respectful to the others, how to talk to others, how to pronounce words, how to speak correctly, So she was trying to change his attitude towards things and his thoughts about things. Okay. Huck, did not mind, what, being taught by Mrs. What's her name? Okay, Mrs. Douglas did not mind that, but he sometimes, he finds that, this, limits and, let's say, obliges him to to be strict to certain things, to do certain things in his life, and this is not something that he likes. Okay, so she likes to he doesn't mind it, but he doesn't like it because it restricts his life. Okay, and obliges him to let's say obliges him to do certain thing in his life, but he finds this as being sort of a prison for him. Okay, so Tom Sawyer appears in the story and helps Huck to escape from the house, and then they get together, or they meet, and they start planning for adventures and some let's say some sort of crimes, robberies, things like that. Then we are also introduced in the first two chapters to Huck Paps, okay, to Huckleberry Finn's father. And here the father is depicted or pictured, introduced as as a very lazy man, who is always drunk and who is very inconsiderate and very hideous person, and someone who is not really who is not really a good representative as a father, and he always hates and abuses Huckleberry Finn. So he's morally speaking, he's a bad person, the father, and he's always unconscious. He's always drunk. Then it goes on and on, the story with the adventures of Huckleberry Finn escaping from one place to another with Tom Sawyer and Jim, with a lot of interesting actions till the story of the novel comes to an end. When the what to say, aunt Polly comes and reveals the reality, okay, of Huckleberry Finn, and so the Huck and Tom, sorry, both, the aunt here, Aunt Polly, reveals the identity and reveals the real identity of Huck and Tom Sawyer. Then at the end of the story here, Watson just releases, sorry, before she dies, she releases Jim, the slave, because she hears good things about him. Huck and Tom tell her that Jim helped them a lot when they were in danger. He's a good mannered person, a kind person, and so Aunt Polly decides just to release Jim and not to have him anymore as, or to deal with him as a slave, اعتقته. Okay. طبعا Jim what's his Jim what's his name, Huck, the father of Huckleberry Finn, at the end of the story dies, and then he goes back, Huckleberry Finn goes back to live in the same place where his adventure started, in this imaginative place اللي هو Petersburg, without any problems, because now he is living let's say alone, or not with his father, who used to cause a lot of troubles for him by abusing him and not being kind to him, and because of that he started his adventures and he escaped from home. So now he is back at the end of the story, or the end of the novel, after the death of his father, and then Hack is has become sort of a happy person, and then he ends being happy and cheerful person with his life, just as being an independent person. Okay, that's all about Huckleberry Finn, and just generally speaking, and let's say roughly speaking about these 3 chapters. But you need to this is the last one, اللي هو 43. Okay. I might I think I forgot, or I did not include in my summary a lot of the events that should be included, but this is something left for you. I just here to tell you a very let's say brief account about the novel Huckleberry Finn. So that's all from me today. So please remember that 3 chapters to be read, and they are provided here. Read the summaries, read the text themselves. If you have any questions, any problems, please you contact me very soon through my email. Okay, thank you very much. See you again in our next lecture. Assalamu alaikum.